I know that you're often described as having like a Mexican regional sound. How do you tend to describe the music that you make?
Um, I tend to say it's like a mezcla de mis mundos. It's like a mix of my worlds where like I grew up on bolero and ranchera in my home because that was like what my mom loved listening to. But for my personal choice, it was like indie and alternative. And it wasn't until I think I was coming into my own as like a young woman that I really figured out that like my sound was truly representation of like both of my worlds, you know? I think growing up Mexican American, like it's like this battle of like identity and this like culture clash, if you will. And I think through time and me really even finding my own voice and developing my sound, it kind of just naturally presented itself there.
Who were some artists then that influenced you when you were growing up?
So when I went through like my like emo phase or um like growing and being a more like alternative kind of girl, like I think it was always like femme fronted bands, you know, or like so Stevie Nicks and Haley Williams from Paramore and I mean Carole King and um just strong presences like that. And then I grew into like Adele and Amy Winehouse and really finding like my lane in the alternative space. It really came from just really honest lyrics. Um, really, I guess, presented in a different way, you know. But then at home, like my mom loved listening to Pedro Infante and Lola Beltran and Lucha Villa and Amalia Mendoza, Flor Silvestre, Antonio Aguilar, like all my mom love ranchera. And my abuelitos, um, en paz descansen, they dedicated like boleros to each other, you know. So it was like Los Panchos and Los Tres Haces and all like the trios, you know, that like our abuelos grew up with. And so unbeknownst to me, that ended up influencing me like years later. Um, but yeah, I mean, I grew up with a lot because like my brothers were born in Mexico, but they grew up in the States. Like they came very young to the States, and I was the only one born there. And so like my brothers influenced a lot of my music taste and like introducing me to Nirvana and like the Smashing Pumpkins and Sade and Mariah Carey and all of that. Like what they passed on to me, and I'm so grateful for that. They were like my first teachers when it came to like music taste in general. And then when I came into my own, that's when I found like punk and like emo and indie and alternative and how that evolved. And then at the end of the day, I always just came back to home, which was the traditional music of Mexico. Yeah.
You have a wonderful new song out right now, Desahogándome. Talk about the message behind it, the story behind creating this.
Yeah, I mean, Desahogándome, I think like a lot of art that comes from an honest place came from a dark place. I think it was a way for music to transmute pain into power. I wrote a song in Mexico City last year. Um, I mean, I'm about to post something about this anyway, so it's like whatever, we're gonna enter the vulnerability because it's National like Suicide Prevention Week, and I've struggled with like bouts of depression since I was a young girl, and I didn't really know how to like access the tools that like actually exist to like feel better and not feel like dying. And so like those opening lyrics, like I'm trying to do my best forgetting about the rest, but the voices in my mind are so unkind. I can't let them win tonight. It was like in the midst of ideation and just like really like telling myself like I can't let those voices in my mind win tonight. Like it was a battle within myself, and it just came out in the music. And so thankfully, like I had friends around me at that time that like really helped me get out of that. I mean, desahogándome literally translates to undrowning. And like how it's used out here, it's like amiga me puedo desahogar, and it's like asking your friend, like, hey, can I vent? But it isn't like I love how it translates. It's like it's not just venting, it's like, hey, can you like can you be like my like salvavidas right now? Like, can you be like my how do you say in English? It's like can you be like my life raft, if you will, you know?
Salvation,
Like,
sort of my
yeah,
safety, something. Yeah.
yeah. It's like when you're drowning, right? And like somebody throws you like
Oh,
the
yes, I know what you're life preserver, life preserver.
yeah, sure, that. It's like when someone helps you like from drowning, and like it doesn't translate that like that in English at all. So I mean, desahogándome is like literally like my favorite word in Spanish for that reason, is that it's so unique to the language, and so yeah, I thankfully have friends that helped me undrown in that moment, and like those are the friends I actually wrote the song with, and so I felt very safe to let them into where I was in that moment. And um I was just in the middle of a storm of my life at the time, and I just felt safe enough to let it out. And that's really what this Desahogándome is about, is like having the people that you can feel safe enough to like hold, not only like hold you through like that dark period of time, but like really see you through the other side. It's like, like when you feel ashamed of being like a burden to somebody for letting them in and how dark you're feeling, but then realizing that like that's what true friendships are for, to and that they want to be there for you in that moment. Um, so yeah, I mean, music has always helped. Like I feel like music has always helped me in like my darkest moments. Music has really saved my life like time and time again. And this song was a part of that and like saving me in that season.
What kind of fan response have you been receiving? I'm sure many people are reaching out telling you they can relate, or maybe even the song sort of helped remind them that they need some safety, a life preserver for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really vulnerable, right? And so um this is like my first time I'm like releasing anything since last year too. I took a break and all of that. So I mean, the personal outreach has definitely been something along the lines of like just gratitude to feel reflected in that. Or like I had a friend who sent me a message that he was listening to the song when he was going through that tunnel that's in Perks of Being a Wallflower, and that they were just like blasting it and had like one of those like perfect life moments to the song. And that's how I want people to feel. Like I think for me, like the ultimate test of a song is the car test, and how it makes you feel when you're driving, and like soundtracking your life. It's very like main character moment kind of thing, and that's really what I wanted the song to do. And I mean, like this song for me is like a test of like my own, I don't know, perseverance, of like self promotion is like really hard for me. I think like it is for many artists. And I'm still like putting the song out there and the meaning on the table for people to receive what they need to. So I think we'll see how more people respond to it once I really let people in on like what it's about.
What's your songwriting process tend to be like? Do you need to sort of formulate some lyrics in your mind and then find a beat that goes with it? Or do you tend to find a beat within, like a little voice note or something that you record, and then you're like, okay, these lyrics would match up well with it? Is there a typical process, or maybe even not?
Honestly, usually like music has to come when I'm feeling a lot, like where it's just like the cup is overflowing with emotions and it needs to go somewhere. And so in the case of this Desahogándome, like I was feeling all of these things, and I put the lyrics and melody into a voice memo because I knew I was going to have a session in a few days. And so I like showed my friend what I had been like ruminating on, and he just came up with like the most brilliant chords that just like held me. It's like the chords really have to feel like it's holding me in that moment enough to hold the words that I'm putting out on the table. So yeah, I mean, and usually like what I really love is like if I go into a session, is just like to start just like with how I'm feeling in that moment, and um play around with a few different like chord structures with whoever is there with me. in the writing process. And then once we really land on something that like strikes a chord within me, then I'll just ask them to stay on that like repetitively and kind of like meditate on that, if you will. And then the lyrics usually just flow out in one session. Like Desahogándome did take like 2 days, like a 2 day session because I needed to take like a break from it. And it was just a lot. And just to step away from it and come back to it. But usually, honestly, like most of my songs have like all come out in like 30 minutes or less. Like it's just like it's just a release, you know?
I know that Andres Jaime Espinosa lent a hand when it came to the production side on this song, but how much of a say do you tend to have when it comes to the production aspects of the music you make? Do you tend to be there hands-on so that you can formulate a sound that you have in your mind, distinct sound that you really want to convey, or do you work together with them so that you can understand, okay, maybe this would a little bit more guitar here, or a little bit louder here on the drums would be good?
It's a balance, really. It's like letting like Andy, who I did the project with, because I mean I did the majority of the EP that's coming up with him. I did 4 out of 5 songs in his studio Sagredo in Mexico City. And it was really like giving, like trusting him because I came to him for this project for a reason. Like I wanted to be more soulful, I mean, more alternative with this project. But really like, I don't know, setting up the canvas, if you will, with him. And I mean, I was a part of the entire process. I was there for every single detail that was put into the song. And so yeah, with Andy, I mean, I trust him, and I think like making music is so intimate that there needs to be a lot of trust there, at least for me. It's so, because it is so personal, um, to be able to paint the canvas together, you know, where like I was very specific, where I'm like, okay, like in Desahogándome, it was raining that day because like it does in Mexico City every summer, every evening. It's like on the clock, it starts raining. And so that's where you hear the rain sounds in the beginning because I wanted them to record that. Or in the drop of the song, like I wanted to bring the trumpets back, where it's like last project, since it was very much more inspired by like bolero y ranchera. You could hear the trumpets throughout the project, but this project is way more jazzier and soulful. So I still wanted to bring back the trumpets in just a different fashion. And so that's where you hear the trumpets like sounding like they were like in another room. So yeah, I am very specific with what I want. But I trust him to be able to just like take what like I'm saying and run with it. And that's exactly what he did.
I have to ask, is there an EP or maybe a full album in the works right now?
Yeah. So my next EP is called Por las Buenas. And that will be out in November. And so last year's project is called Aprendiendo por las Malas. So it's a part 2 to last year's EP because like there's a saying out here, like when your parents are basically like te están regañando, like when they're like this is where like the battle of the languages comes in my mind right now, but when they're like punishing you, if you will, or like before they're about to punish you, they're like por las buenas or por las malas. So it's like you want to learn the hard way or the easy way, you know? But it's the other way around. It's like you want to learn the easy way or the hard way. So por las buenas, through the good or through the bad, you know? And so last year was like a 5-track EP. This year's a 5-track EP, and basically it'll just be like completing each other. And so we're in the midst of finishing the mixing and mastering of the whole project. Like it's done. Almost we're like right there, we're running to the finish line so I can submit it for distribution. But yeah, it's around the corner. It'll be out in November.
You have such a beautiful voice. Is there someone you would love to collaborate with on a song in the future? Someone that you would love to share voices with on a track?
Yeah, I mean, oh, there's so many. I mean, I just got asked this question like dead or alive. So now this is the alive one because I chose a dead a dead one last time. Honestly, Mon Laferte, she's been a big inspiration for me and a big support for me in the last um, couple years in coming into my artistry. Um, and yeah, I feel like one day it could naturally just happen, but yeah, Mon Laferte, I would say.
What would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters of the incredibly beautiful music you make? This one I think is just going to be an exceptionally proud song for you to be receiving so much love for.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, just a lot of love and gratitude for whoever is riding along this journey with me, for those who have been here from seeing my evolution over the years, from working behind the scenes in the music industry to coming into my artistry to the dark seasons of my life and emerging from them, to those who are just finding me now. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I've always led with vulnerability because I felt I've been shown that that's like my superpower. And I I just want to be of service and be a vessel to those who need it most. And so, yeah, to whoever who has been writing along with me and supporting me in this journey, I'm just very grateful for them. And I welcome more of that support, and I pray for more of that support, and those who need my music most, may they find it when they need it.